A game of strategy, as currently conceived in game theory, is a situation in which two or more players make choices among available alternatives or moves. The totality of choices determines the outcomes of the game, and it is assumed that the rank order of preferences for the outcomes is different for different players. So, what do you mean by rank order of preferences? So, I could have a different order of preference. For example, I want something first, something second, something third. The other person could have a different kind of order in what he wants. Okay, that's what they mean by rank order of preferences. Okay, so, and it is assumed that the rank order of preferences of the outcomes is different for different players. Thus, the interests of the players are generally in conflict. Whether these interests are diametrically opposed or only partially opposed depends on the type of the game. Okay, so the players involved could have different interests. Their interests could be diametrically opposed, means I want something and the other player wants something completely different. Now, that's when you call it as diametrically opposed. Okay, or it could only be partially opposed as well. Okay, I want something and he also wants something very similar. Okay, let's say I want A, B, and D, and the opponent wants A, B, and C. Then you cannot say we both are diametrically opposed. We are only partially opposed. Okay, so that's what they're trying to say here. Great. Psychologically, most interesting situations arise when the interests of the players are partly coincident and partly opposed. So that's when most interesting situations come. Okay, partly coincident and partly opposed. Because then, this is important, because when you read this, when they claim something, there is a claim here. Most interesting situations arise when the interests of the players are partly coincident, partly opposed. Now you got to think, why is that the most interesting? That's what they're going to explain now. So anticipation helps you to read faster. Okay, why is it the most interesting? Because then one can postulate not only a conflict among the players, but also inner conflicts within the players. Oh, that's interesting. So they say these are interesting situations because not only do the players have conflicts between themselves, they also have internal conflicts. Means within themselves also they have conflicts. Shall I do this? Shall I do that? Shall I do this? Shall I do that? So that kind of conflict they're speaking about. Okay, but also inner conflicts within the players. Each is torn between a tendency to cooperate so as to promote the common interests and a tendency to compete so as to enhance his own individual interests. So that is the conflict that they face internally. Internal conflicts are always psychologically interesting. Why? That's a question that you have to ask yourself when you read this. Internal conflicts are psychologically interesting. Let's see why. What we vaguely call interesting psychology is in very great measure the psychology of inner conflict. So he says the same thing, that inner conflicts are interesting. Okay, inner conflict is also held to be an important component of serious literature as distinguished from less serious genres. The classical tragedy, as well as a serious novel, reveals the inner conflict of central figures. The superficial adventure story, on the other hand, depicts only external conflict. That is, the threats to a person with whom the reader or viewer identifies in these stories exclusively from external obstacles and from the adversaries who create them. Let me just scroll a little. The superficial adventure story, on the other hand, depicts only external conflict. That is, the threats to a person with whom the reader identifies them in these stories exclusively from external obstacles and from the adversaries who create them. On the most primitive level, this sort of external conflict is psychologically empty. So the author says, when the character is facing external conflict and not internal conflicts, from a psychology point of view, it is a psychologically empty conflict. Okay. In the fisticuffs means like a quarrel or a fight. In the fisticuffs between the protagonists of good and evil, no psychological problem are involved, or at any rate, none are depicted in juvenile representations of conflict. So the author says that things are interesting. You say that it is psychologically interesting when there are internal conflicts and not when you have conflicts externally. Let's look at this. Let me scroll down a little. The detective story, the adult analog of a juvenile adventure tale. What is juvenile? Childlike. Okay, young and childlike. Okay. The detective story, the adult analog of a juvenile adventure tale, has at times been described as a glorification of intellectualized conflict. However, A great deal of the interest in the plots of these stories is sustained by withholding the unraveling of a solution to the problem. So he says many of these detective stories, which are glorified by some people as intellectualized conflict, are actually things which become interesting because they withhold unraveling of a solution to a problem. The effort of solving the problem in itself is not a conflict. If the adversary remains passive like nature, whose secrets the scientist supposedly unravels by deduction. Okay, he says if the problem itself is such that you're dealing with something which is passive, like nature, or you have some problem that you have to solve by yourself, okay, where the thing on which you're solving the problem is not changing, okay, then he says that is not interesting. Okay, the effort of solving the problem in itself is not a conflict if the adversary remains passive. If the adversary actively puts obstacles in the detective's path towards a solution, there is genuine conflict. So here he speaks about what is a genuine conflict and what is not necessarily a conflict. If you're trying to solve a problem and that problem or anything that is related to the problem is remaining passive, means nothing is changing about the problem, okay, then you can say that it is not a genuine conflict. But if you're trying to solve a problem while someone else is constantly changing the variables in the problem, then he says it's a genuine conflict. But the conflict is psychologically interesting only to the extent that it contains irrational components such as tactical error on the criminal's part or the detective's insight into some psychological quirk of the criminal or something of this sort. Conflict conducted in a perfectly rational manner is psychologically no more interesting than a standard Western. For example, tic-tac-toe played perfectly by both players is completely devoid of psychological interest. Chess may be psychologically interesting, but only to the extent that it is played not quite rationally. Played completely rationally, chess would not be different from tic-tac-toe. In short, a pure conflict of interest, what is called a zero-sum game, although it offers a wealth of interesting conceptual problems, it is not interesting psychologically, except to the extent that the conduct departs from rational norms. Now let's look at the questions. So when we go to the questions, we look at each question and then we start eliminating the options. So that is the technique that we discussed in the concept session. So if you have not gone through the concept sessions, please go through the concept session once, where I've discussed in detail how you're supposed to read and how you're supposed to eliminate, what kind of techniques you can use and so on. So according to the passage, internal conflicts are psychologically more interesting than external conflicts because we did read about it. So let's see. Somewhere around here only we read. Let's go through the options. There are no threats to the reader or viewer in case of threats to the reader or viewer. Where did we even speak about threats to the reader or viewer? No, we have never read anything about the threats to the reader or viewer. You can get rid of this option. In situations of internal conflict, individuals experience a dilemma in resolving their own preferences for different outcomes. Now, this is something that he spoke about, right? Let's see. Somewhere here, let's read. Each is torn between a tendency to cooperate so as to promote the common interest and the tendency to compete so as to enhance his own individual interest. Okay, so internally they are facing conflict. That is what makes these things psychologically interesting. In situations of internal conflict, individuals experience a dilemma in resolving their own preferences. So this looks like it could be our answer. Let's look at the other options also. Only juveniles or very few adults actually experience external conflict, while internal conflict is more widely prevalent in society. So this option is telling internal conflicts are more interesting because more people face internal conflict. That's not what the passage said. The passage did not say that internal conflicts are psychologically more interesting because more people face internal conflicts. That's not what the passage was saying. Next, internal conflicts rather than external conflicts form an important component of serious literature. Well, we did speak about literature, but it is not that internal conflicts are interesting because they are an important component of serious literature. Okay, the passage did not say that internal conflicts are interesting because they are important part of serious literature. Well, they did speak about literature here. Let's read in and around that. Internal conflicts are always psychologically interesting. What we vaguely called interesting psychology is in the very great measure the psychology of inner conflict. Inner conflict is also held to be an important component. So it is given inner conflict is also held to be an important component of serious literature. But it did not say inner conflict is interesting because it is an important component of serious literature. Okay, that is why you can eliminate option 4. Option 2 is the best answer we have got. What, according to the author, would qualify as interesting psychology? Okay, you can quickly go through the options if you haven't gone through. What, according to the author, would qualify as interesting psychology? Okay, let's go through the options now. A finance manager's quandary over the best way of raising money from the market. Now, if you read somewhere around here, he speaks about it. The effort of solving the problem is in itself not a conflict in the adversary. If the adversary remains passive like nature, whose secrets the scientists supposedly unravel by deduction. If the adversary actively puts obstacles in the detective's path, let me underline this part. If the adversary actively puts obstacles in the detective's path toward the solution, there is a genuine conflict then, but the conflict is psychologically interesting only to the extent that it contains irrational components. So if you're trying to solve a problem, and if someone is trying to stop you from solving the problem, or someone is trying to make your problem solving difficult, then he says there could be a genuine conflict which is psychologically interesting. Okay, now let's look at the options. The finance manager's quandary over the best way of raising money from the market. So someone is sitting and thinking, how do I raise money from the market? Now, here if you see, the market is not constantly changing, thinking that, hey, this guy is trying to generate money, so let us change. Not happening, right? So this is an external thing. Although it might change a little, it is not changing, keeping in mind that the finance manager is trying to raise money. Okay, so I'm going to leave it aside. This doesn't fit into a situation where someone is trying to constantly put obstacles for your plan. A mountaineer's choice of the best path to Mount Everest from the base camp. Obviously, Mount Everest is not going to change itself because this guy is trying to find out the best path. So I can remove that. A statistician's dilemma over choosing the best method to solve an optimization problem. Now, the problem is not going to change itself because he is trying to solve. But when you look at the last option, a chess player's predicament over adopting a defensive strategy against an aggressive opponent. So here, if you see, this opponent can constantly create these so-called obstacles for our chess player, okay, which makes a genuine conflict here, and it is psychologically interesting. But in all the other three, the problem that they are facing is not being constantly modified by some other force which wants to make your solving the problem difficult. So this is the most interesting psychological situation here. The others can be removed. According to the passage, which of the following options about the application of game theory to a conflict of interest situation is true? Okay, conflict of interest situation. Let's read the options. Not assuming that the interests are in complete disagreement. So somewhere here we read about it. A game of strategy as currently conceived in game theory is a situation make choices among available alternatives. The totality of choices determines, it is assumed that the rank order of preference is different for, okay, so from here I can probably read rank order of preference for the outcomes is different for different players. Thus, the interests of the players are generally in conflict. Whether these interests are diametrically opposed or only partially opposed depends on the type of the game. So here it is giving, not assuming that the interests are in complete disagreement, which is true, because it is given here whether they are diametrically opposed or partially opposed depends on the game. So not assuming that the interests are completely disagreement, that is true. Next one, accepting that the interests of different players are often in conflict. Yes, they do have conflict, as the interests of the players are generally in conflict is given. So this is also true. Already I'm getting a feeling that it could be all of the above. Let's just read third option also once. Assuming that the rank order of preference for options is different, that is also true. That's also given. Rank order of preference for outcome is different for different players. So answer for this question should be all of the above. The problem solving process of a scientist is different from that of a detective because, well, they did speak about scientist, detective and all here. Let's see. Yes. So here we did speak about detective story, right? The adult analog of a juvenile story and all that. However, a great deal of interest. Okay, again here, if the adversary actively puts obstacles in the detective's path towards a solution, then there is a genuine conflict. But the conflict is psychologically interesting only to an extent. So if someone constantly places obstacles in the detective's path, then he says it's a genuine conflict. Obviously, for a scientist, that kind of a thing cannot happen because scientist is trying to solve something related to nature. So let's read this option. Scientists study known objects while detectives have to deal with unknown criminals. See, the interest as to why one is different from the other and hence why one is psychologically interesting is not because one is studying known objects and the other one is studying unknown objects. The interest is not different because of these things. One is studying known and other is studying unknown. So that's not the differentiating factor for psychological interest. Next one, scientists study psychologically interesting phenomena while detectives deal with adult analogs of juvenile adventure. Nowhere related to what is given here. Next one, scientists study inanimate objects while detectives deal with living. Again, the difference is not stemming because one is dealing with inanimate and the other one is dealing with living creatures. That's not the differentiation given there. Let's read the last option. Scientists study phenomena that are not actively altered, while detectives deal with phenomena that have been deliberately influenced to mislead. So when you read this, you can see if the adversary actively puts obstacles, means someone is actively making the detective's life difficult in solving the problem. And that's what is given here. While detectives deal with phenomena that have been deliberately influenced to mislead, scientists study phenomena that are not actively altered, more like nature related subjects. So answer has to be option 4 for this question.